and it was a good mate's birthday today. So I popped over about 5 o'clock thinking I've got loads of time. It'll be fine. And then my wife just texted me and said, it's 7 o'clock. So I came running back. I thought it was about 6 o'clock. And and then, of course, the panic of trying to get that working. So sorry, it's entirely my fault. I'm usually quite good with the Zoom thing.
Well, I'm thinking Bill Sharp, must be well in his 60s now.
Right. Right.
We saw. Anyway, David, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good, thank you, yes.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, 7 months of lockdown. Apart from that, I'm all right.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that a bit later, but we'll go straight in with you. How did you get involved with music in the first place?
Well, music, my mum was a music teacher, so there was always music instruments and the like in the house. My sister played and went through the academic, learning things, and my parents tried to push me away from music, but I got into it and started playing in bands, and I went to college, music college, Leeds College of Music, eventually, and then started playing in bands. So then I was at college with a friend, TJ Davis, a girl singer, and we decided to move to London together to sort of take our chances. And we were kind of muddling around in London trying to make our way. And we had a manager, actually, who was getting us bits and bobs and hooking us up with various people. And he managed some producers who had just produced a remix of Cars
Right.
For the Carling advert. There was an advert for Carling beer. I don't know.
It's a weird one because it's slightly different from the original Cars, isn't it?
Yeah. It was these guys that we knew quite well, Charles and Francis, who were producers, had somehow got to do this remix for the Carling TV ad, and our manager was their manager, and that was the connection. And then Gary was looking for a backing singer for his tour. I don't think he'd used one for a while, and TJ got the gig, and so that's how we met Gary. So I used to just go along to all the gigs and hang out with the band.
What was that? I'm sure I saw it about '92 Dream Corrosion tour, something like that. But probably but
Dream Corrosion, yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing her on that. And then you got involved with Gary. How did that happen?
Well, so she was doing Dream Corrosion, and I was a flatmate. We'd moved to London from Yorkshire together. We shared a flat, and I used to go along to the gigs and hang out with Aid Orange and Richie Beasley, and so it was just a social thing. And then John, Gary's brother, decided to leave the band, and they needed a new keyboard player. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Aid Orange, I think, suggested me, and that was it. Got the gig.
Because your first gig was in '96.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think what tour that was. Was it Sacrifice or was it before?
Oh dear, that's a good question. Well, it will have been the Carling Premier Hits, I think, wasn't it? Oh no, mate, no.
It might have been.
I remember the Carling Premier Hits. Yeah, I did that because there was like this van load of Carling beer that went around with this.
It's a nightmare
because it was sponsored by Carling,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been about Sacrifice and around that kind of time, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So your first gig then, how did that feel for you? I mean, just moving back slightly, were you a Numan fan?
Not really, no. I mean, I obviously knew of him musically, and I had mates that were fans when I was growing up.
Mm.
Schoolmates that were into Gary, so I was very aware of him. But no, I can't say that I was a fan. And I'd done a few other little bits and bobs. A band called the Cutting Crew
Yep.
I'd been doing, and a few other things. And then this came along, and I can't say it was a mate or anything, but I kind of knew Gary from these brief social meetings through TJ, and he invited me round to the house. So I turned up, and Rob Harris, the guitarist of now Jamiroquai fame, was there, and we kind of went along, and Gary just started talking about this tour, and we were just sitting there thinking, I don't really know what's going on here, and then he kind of turned to us and said, "Are you free?" Yeah, I'm free. I'm not doing anything else. So that's how the gig came about. We both got booked at the same time. So it was January '96. That was.
Yeah. So your first Numan night. I mean, it's not the first time you played live, but how was that?
That was the Folkestone Lees Cliff Halls. Was the first gig I ever did, and yeah, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying because, you know, the keyboard gig of the keyboard guy is quite intimidating. You know, you've got to know your stuff. So yeah, it was pretty terrifying, and the kind of velocity of his fans, you know, the quite and in '96 as well, it was different again than it is now. So it was a whole new world, but brilliant.
Yeah, because my first I think time I saw you playing live, where I really noticed it, would have been on Every Day I Die, because there was that big instrumental at the end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because Gary hadn't played it for so long, it was really, you know, quite amazing.
Right.
To hear. But someone asked me, how did you get on when Gary done some kind of bald image? I can't remember that one. But I thought, well, it's a bit bizarre asking me. Did you have to shave your hair for an image with Gary?
I didn't have to shave my head. I did shave my head. No, he never really gets into that kind of thing. But no, I did shave my head. I have shaved my head. The whole lockdown haircut. Yeah.
It's so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm trying to think when it was. So a good few years ago, I shaved my head just for why not kind of thing, and it stood for a while. And then when the lockdown thing came about, and everybody was moaning about getting their hair cut, my daughters, I've got 2 daughters and a son, they shaved my head, and I've just stuck with it ever since. It's much easier. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I've got no hair to grow anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I'm sort of like a mature Yul Brynner, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you're on stage, what is your favourite all-time Numan track to play?
Well, yeah, it varies a lot. You know, you have different criteria. Things that are nice to play for the keyboard player are completely different to play for the drummer or whatever. I always get a kick out of Cars. You know, because it's the song, and it's become the song worldwide, whether you're a Numan fan or not, wherever you are in the world, whatever the event. Because you play Gary gigs, but you play festivals in far off weird places, and you don't know how this is going to go. And when you play Cars, it kicks off wherever you are, whatever the situation. We did what's that place? Some BBC studios in London, like Radio 6 Live, something or other, and Maida Vale, where everybody's played, everybody from Bing Crosby to the Foo Fighters to everybody. And when you do Cars, the people just come out of the woodwork. And there's nothing like that moment when everybody just goes mental because they know that song and they've grown up with it and da-di-da-di-da. From a musical point of view, there's lots of songs. Some of the older stuff, like I Die You Die, is a nice play. There's lots to do, and that's good for me to play. Some of the new stuff's good as well, but all for different reasons.
Yes, I can imagine so. But I remember going to a gig, and I went off to have a wee or whatever, and I said to this guy in there, great gig, isn't it? And he said, yeah, I'm looking forward to Cars. And I said, well, I don't think Gary's playing that tonight. He said, well, I'm never coming again. But if you're a casual sort of person, it's a bit like if I go and see the Human League, I want to see Being Bored.
Right.
I don't want to listen just to all the new stuff. No. So, but you've been playing with loads of different people of late, or over the years. Live.
Yeah. I've been very lucky, and that feeling when you play the big hit or one of their big hits, and the audience have been waiting for that moment. It's the same with any act, because I always think there will be people that have come for that one song. They will have come specifically for that song, and I appreciate, because Gary doesn't always want to play Cars.
No, I can understand that.
Yeah, and there was a period a few years ago when he really didn't want to play Cars. He'd had enough. And I've obviously never had a hit single, so I don't know what that feels like. I can imagine, 40 years of playing the same song can wear a bit thin. But having never been in that situation, I always appreciate, like me, when I go and see somebody, that you just want to see them do that song. So I always feel that I would. And with other acts, I always enjoy the moment when you do the big hit. It's good fun.
But it is a shame, Ed, because Cars is an absolutely awesome track. It still stands out today as good as it did in '79. I mean, the production on it's brilliant. And I can understand. I remember Gary doing an interview years ago that if he went on a television program, they said, you've got to play Our Friends of Electric Cars.
Yeah.
But obviously, he wants to play new stuff. But you sort of see it both ways, I suppose. But one of your best gigs with Gary? And there's a few.
Yeah, there's been a few. There was a Scandinavian one we did probably 20 years ago. I can't think what it was called, and it was one of those where it hadn't been dark for like 3 months, where it hadn't got dark, and we went on at 10 o'clock and it was broad daylight, and that it just was really vibey. There's the Fillmore in San Francisco, which is just extremely vibey. Everybody's played there, and it feels amazing to be. It feels like it's so far away from home. It's not like anywhere else we've played, and it's just so American, and then the Albert Hall gig a couple of years back, last year, whenever it was. That was amazing. It just was a dream come true. My wife came, my kids came, I had loads of mates there. It just was amazing.
It's one of them pinch yourself moments, isn't it?
It really was. Yeah. Yeah, it
so,
was.
But you're still with Gary in the band?
Now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do these driving tour.
We were going to do the driving thing.
Yeah.
It was very sad that, because we were there's lots of them, and some of them, the guy that I was just in the pub with now is a bass player, and he just did some. So they are happening. They did get to happen, but the ones that we were doing, which were Live Nation, just got gazumped somehow. I think it was an insurance thing, and the local councils all announced that they could close them down at any minute and put us in lockdown. And I think if that had happened, which seemed very likely at the time, not only would we have not made the next gig, but we would have been stuck in, Liverpool or whatever for 2 weeks. And who's on a tour bus? Who's going to feed us? So the whole thing just collapsed, because all the other 20 or so bands that were going to do it couldn't afford that either. So it just collapsed overnight. It was tragic. It was awful, because, as I say, it was one of the first ones that anybody had heard about, and we were all like, we're going to do this. It was gone. But yeah, we're all the band is the same. We're all doing it. We all just met and did this acoustic session.
Yes. How did that go?
It was brilliant. It was really brilliant. It wasn't a tour, that we were going to do, but it was a small consolation, and it was a weird idea, and nobody knew how it was going to turn out, because I don't think he'd ever done it before, done some acoustic arrangements. And it really was a case of just turning up, and we've got he came up with like 15 songs that he'd like to try, and maybe 10 of them will work. They probably all won't work. But we did them all. We just sat there, and it was so lovely to see each other, because we've not seen each other for months, and none of us had done anything for months. And every single one of them sounded amazing. We just sat and
what is Gary doing with that? CD or a video or something? I don't know. I didn't really read much about it. I read about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the idea is that he's going to put them out on his website. I think I've seen little bits on the Gary Numan official things coming out, and various people have written to me and said, "Oh, I've heard this, I've seen this." So something's happening with it. I don't really know. I'd like to see it myself, because I when we were doing it, I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but I had a look at the footage, and I thought, wow, that sounds amazing. It looks really cool.
What were you playing?
Well, so the idea was it was just going to be acoustic arrangements, no bells and whistles, no percussion tracks, nothing, just the five of us sitting there. Let's see what we can come up with. So I brought a piano, electric piano that sat there, took it along. Steve, acoustic guitars, and Richie just had a cajon, which is a box. Do you know the cajon? It's a percussive instrument. And we just sat around in a circle, and Gary would shout up a song, and we'd just see what worked. And so the discipline was just acoustic instruments. And they all sounded amazing. So amazing that I hope we do some more of it.
Oh, brilliant. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
I was talking to Chris Payne not so long ago.
Right.
He's another one on my video interviews, as I do.
Right.
You're quite involved with this Visage stuff?
Yeah. Well, he rang me, because we obviously know each other. We've known each other for as long as I've been doing the Gary thing. And then on a recent talk, when it was, he came and he was the support act with his wife, so we did a tour together. So we got to know each other really well, and then he rang me and said, he was doing the Visage thing, which he's always been loosely involved with.
Yeah.
Did you want to do it? Yeah, obviously, love to do it. So yeah, thanks to Chris for getting me involved. And then Rusty came down here. You know, Rusty Egan from Visage. He came down for a couple of days, and we worked in this is my studio, and we worked on a load of tracks. So Rusty's like a steam train, just bang,
Yes.
bang, 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 bang. There's no gigs because COVID. You know, there's nothing for a long time. Nothing's going to happen. But he's kind of steaming forward, and we're all working on stuff. So I think as soon as we're allowed to do anything, we'll be armed to the teeth, ready to go.
Because I did hear the not of Chris, but are they redoing the first two albums or something, Visage albums, or was that something we can't talk about?
I don't know. With any of this, I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about. I'm just, I've been to the pub, so you caught me at a good moment. I've just rushed back. Yes, I think, I don't know whether I'm allowed to say that, but yeah, that's the idea. We're gonna do the albums, and everybody's been firing different ideas, little doodles and ideas between each other, which I've been terrible at keeping up with. So yes, we're going to redo the first two albums and maybe do a new album. So again, there's no gigs or anything, but we're kind of feverishly working away at new stuff.
Well, hopefully soon. I mean, I did get to see Steve Strange, his Visage, probably a couple of years before he died.
Right.
Did you ever meet Steve Strange?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
No. It was bizarre, I must admit. But but I must admit, a few beers did help the gig go along. I actually tuned into his way of singing. Well,
right.
I think singing is the wrong word, but it was quite enjoyable, I must admit. So on tour with Gary, your memorable moments? You know, where you know people fall off the lights and things like that.
Well, we've had a few of those. Richie falling off the stage, and various people falling over on stage, and things going wrong. Memorable moments are things that really catch you by surprise. Just moments. You know, obviously gigs. We've done some amazing gigs. I don't know how many gigs. There's a guy in America who logs who does what gigs and counts them and knows exactly, you know, how many we've done. But things like you find yourself in the weirdest place with the weirdest people. You know, people come to gigs who are fans. I'm trying to think, famous people and mad, interesting people, and you'll little things like you'll find yourself on the Maid of the Mist ferry thing that goes under Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
You know, got a day off between gigs. The craziest thing. You woke up one morning and you thought, oh, that's not going to happen. That's not on the radar, but just memories, weird memories.
I know. When I spoke to like Chris and Cedric before he died, and it was basically all the crazy stuff, just the memories. You can't always believe you're going around the world, you're doing all this stuff, and you're getting paid for it. So I mean, that's even better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we did a gig in Macau, which is a little island off Hong Kong, which is a little island off China. It's China basically.
Yeah.
And we were all okay. It was an electronica festival, and we had no preconceived ideas at all, other than that it was just going to be an in and out quick job. But what we didn't realise was that it's Vegas. They've built Vegas exactly. You know, the biggest hotel in the world is in Macau, and it's a replica of the Venetian, I think it is, hotel, but it's twice the size. And you get taken to your room in a gondola. And when we landed, and then we were on some minibus going there, and suddenly you see Vegas on the horizon, where you weren't expecting it to be on the other side of the world, and it's enormous. And then you know, suddenly these 3 days that you're away from your family, you're thinking this is going to be a bit weird. Suddenly you're in Vegas and it's going to be incredible. Then the weirdest thing about it was massive. There was some great acts on it, but the weirdest thing was that the ferry over from Hong Kong, which was where all the punters were coming from, closed down. I think it was a storm or something. So nobody turned up. I mean, there was a few people that had managed to get in. But the thousands of people that were supposed to be coming over on the ferry were stuck. So that was the other weird thing about that gig. That was a bit of an unfortunate situation. But yeah, if you ever get to go to Macau, go. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I never even knew about it. I'll give it a whirl. Where are you going now with the future? Where are you going? What are you working on? What are you doing?
Well, I decided to do an album of my own stuff, traveling around with Tim, bass player Tim, Gary's band. He'd done his own album, and did, you know, we all, because he supported us on a few gigs and we all listened to the album. It was amazing and everybody seemed to love it. And he was going, you've got to do it. You should really do it. And I've always wanted to do it, but, you know, everybody thinks they're going to do it. So that's what I'm doing. I've been working on my own album. It's taken twice as long as I thought it would. It's quite difficult to just focus and shut everything else out and just do it. But I'm working on an album of my own songs that I've written, and I've got various people to play on it. The guy that was just in the pub with has played bass on it, and some of the Gary's lot have played on it, and various singers have sung songs. And it's nearly finished, and it's one of those things like Gary does with the where you can buy it in advance. Townsend, it's the same shop as Gary uses. So I've tried to publicize it and people buy it. It's not finished yet, so I understand not everybody wants to part with their money, but it's nearly finished. So hopefully people will buy it.
What is the feel of the album?
Well, that's funny actually, because I thought of it as electronica, because that's what I like. But I played it to Rusty Egan when Rusty was down a couple of weeks back, and he was saying it's a rock, without even asking him or, you know, getting into that. He started saying, well, you know, a rock album, this rock album, rock. And I was saying, it's not a rock album. It's got guitar on it, and it's got a little bit of real drums. I did some stuff with Richie Beasley from Gary's band, and I've nicked the drums and I've chopped them up and used them. So it sounds like real drums. It is real drums. And Rusty was going, well, yeah, you know, it's a rock album. And I think it's a electronica, but it's got guitar. So, I mean, Gary's album's got guitar on it. And that's...
Well, I think Gary's album's got more guitar nowadays than it ever did. So,
yeah,
you know, it still have lots of layers, but it's yeah, I mean, it's the way it goes, isn't it? Maybe Rusty's still stuck in the Visage.
Well, I'm not questioning him. He knows what he's talking about. Absolutely. So if he says it's a rock album, then it's a rock album. But it's I've programmed lots of stuff, and my interest is I think I said on the Facebook blurb, dirty electronica, because it's not, you know, clean.
I look forward to it.
I hope you listen to it and like it. Yeah, so please have a listen.
It's funny how music changes. There's like, obviously, I was a fan of Gary in '79, you know, and I done my book on Gary, 79, 80 sort of stuff. And his music today doesn't appeal to me quite so much. But then he's moved in one direction and I've moved in another direction, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I still love seeing him live. You know, I mean, he's one of the best people you can see. You know, I mean, he's so passionate and everything with his music. And actually, in fact, when I do listen to his new music, I do like it. Actually, it's weird. Yeah,
it's going to evolve, and
well, you have to sometimes. musicians.
Yeah, yeah. He couldn't just still be doing what he was doing in '79.
Of course not.
And it's going to evolve, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't, and lots of new people. And I know people often say, I wish you would do an album of this kind of thing. But I mean, who knows what the next thing, I don't think the next album is going to sound like 1979, but you never know which way it's going to go. And
yeah, but it was 40 years ago.
Things have changed.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I know Gary used to always, and a lot of people used to say he looked very wooden on stage on them tours. No, he was in perfect stance for the image he was doing and the music at the time.
Yeah.
If Gary had come out like he does now in '79, you'd been like, well, what the fuck's happening here?
Yeah.
So it was the perfect image at the time. I never thought he looked wooden. I thought it was perfect at the time. So yeah. So but where music now, where we start with, where do you see this moment in time all going with live acts and everything? I mean, because obviously there is no live acts.
No. I think the biggest problem is that nobody knows what's happening and what's going to happen, because people are finding a way to do things. Weirdly, I did a gig last night. Weirdly, there's I live in Sussex, and there's a pub that I never knew about until last week. That's got loads of land, and they've put a marquee up, and it's all socially distanced, and the police were there. It's all legal and socially distanced, all the rest of it. And they said, did you want to do a thing last night? So we got together, a few of us, and we played there last night. That's the first gig I've done in 7 months. And there are drive-in gigs. There's a gig where I live here, just up towards Tunbridge Wells. I don't know what it's called, a festival. Keen are on, and Squeeze, and God knows what. That's tonight. So people are finding a way to do it. And if we knew that things were going to stay the way they are now, then I think people would find even more ways to do it, and things would recover. But because I've noticed in the media, they're talking more and more and more about a 2-week lockdown in October. There's going to be another lockdown, and it's getting more and more talked about. It feels as if we're heading that way, and that's killing confidence. And the organisations that can make these gigs happen have got no confidence. So we're not moving in any positive direction. People are talking about doing gigs next year, which is great, but with the rules the way they are at the moment, it's going to be very difficult. If anybody knew, then we could progress.
Well, this is a problem, because I had booked Chris Payne and Russell, their dramas, to play here in Norwich in November, which got shelved very quickly once this all started, because the venue could see a bottleneck of the bigger bands all wanting to get in October, November, December. Well, obviously that's not happening now either, is it?
No.
So we're almost going into next year, as you just rightly said, without a complete unknown. You can't even, people talk about touring next year, but where do you go with it? I mean,
It's a very specific set of circumstances that allow for a gig. Like these driving things, they are happening and they are working, but you can't plan any far in advance, because things are changing all the time. Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? It feels as if it's getting worse at the moment, and by October we're going to be back to March.
Well, I hope not, because I'm going to be going on holiday first week of October.
Oh no! Oh, yeah.
Well, no, I put it off several times this year, so I'm now going for October. We'll see.
Where are you going?
Corfu.
Right. Is that still good? Is that still?
Yeah, that's still good. The only problem would be if we go into lockdown, they might not want us going there.
Right, of course. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I go every year, and I was going at the beginning of the year, then the middle of the year. Just go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole music industry is up in the air, isn't it? And the biggest problem is, well, it's not the biggest problem. What people don't realise, it just filters all the way down to the roadies, everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has been an absolute disaster because this year was going to be really busy. When I'm not with Gary, and as you say, I have done a few other acts. When I'm not doing that kind of thing, I do. I've got a company that we provide music for corporate events. We do award ceremonies, you know, and the sting for people. It closed. The year cleared, sort of end of February, and it was an absolute disaster. And it's not coming back. That's going to be the last thing that's going to come back. So that's gone. So and we've watched so many people, the roadies, the people involved in the crew, the venues closing everywhere. It's all just collapsed, and it isn't coming back. There's very specific, lucky little pockets of things that can make things happen, but really it's gone. So everybody's looking at other things. So when it does come back, a lot of the people that were doing very well out of it aren't going to be around because they've been clever enough to move on to something else.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw on a local news some company which does all the stage sets and everything, you know, since April just stopped, you know, and normally they were in their warehouse, and she was saying, you know, it's the end of us because, you know, normally the warehouse would be empty, everyone's on stage doing this and that. So it just goes on and on. You just don't realise, do you? It's not just the likes of yourself. It's the whole music industry.
Oh yeah, it's massive. It's massive worldwide. It's massive, and you keep hearing about different countries. Australia, they've got this grant to help the arts, but in this country, this is quite a desperate time now because the various things that have been able to help us have all finished now. So it's going to be a very cold winter.
Well, I'm self-employed. My wife is self-employed travel agent, and I built this office for her over the winter, which she hasn't actually since beginning. Well, obviously, no one's traveling, so her business went out.
Right, of course, yeah.
One of my sons flies with British Airways, so he was at home as well. Obviously, no one's flying anywhere.
Right.
I was at home, so it was all quite bizarre, actually. Very strange times.
When it first started, I was quite happy. You know, I mean, you know, it's a little bit blasé about it. We were quite enjoying because in Sussex, sorry, here, it's fairly relaxed. It's not like up in London where we used to live. And we enjoyed it. You know, I got 3 kids. We've had a nice time. But now, obviously the economic implications are starting to kick in, and it's not quite so funny anymore. So,
no, I mean, I must admit, the first few weeks, my son brought his PlayStation round. We were playing party games, and you know, the weather was gorgeous, and you know, I don't know. But then you suddenly think, well, this is real. You know, and it's not getting better.
No.
You know what I mean? The beginning of it, you sort of, whatever. But anyway, David, it's been brilliant talking to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was going to say, have you got any gigs lined up? You haven't. Apart from your local pub.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen again. It was an outdoor thing, and it was pretty cold actually last night. So I suspect that's it now. So I don't know. I don't know when the next gig will be. Somebody will find a way because people are finding a way. You know, there's, as I say, there's this festival going on up the road. I've had a few people get in touch, Numan people and whatnot, you know, for keyboard lessons, and can I look at have a little chat around the gear and things like that. So I might do some videos and post some stuff and maybe get into teaching and whatnot and see how that goes. That might be what the near future holds.
this is why I'm doing my home video sort of things with you, Chris, Andy Coughlin, and I've got a few other people lined up for next week. Because, you know, in all the madness, it's just nice to have, you know, just a chat and a laugh, you know.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely, yeah. It's been. I really appreciate you getting in touch. It was good.
well, you know what I mean. It is what it is. I mean, we are where we are. So,
Yeah.
but Dave, brilliant talk to you. Hopefully, I'm going to see you on a Numan tour next year.
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah. Come and say hello. Get in touch and we'll have a sherry.
I will do. We're going to have a couple of beers.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Not before the gig.
Absolutely.
Well, Gary always plays Norwich nowadays, so that's good. So, yeah, we do that. But
the UAE.
UEA.
UEA. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a crap venue.
Oh, I don't know. It's.
I know a better one in Norwich, but I can't. I don't know who you get hold of to say I know a better venue down the road. But
is that where we always play there, don't we?
Yeah, UEA.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well,
it's okay. It's a bit dated. I mean, I think my first gig there was in '78, seeing the Undertones.
Oh wow! Wow. Yeah.
But I saw Japan there as well, so it was good.
Oh crikey! Right. Yeah. They've all been there. Well, maybe we'll play at this other place next time. You never know.
Well, it'd be good if you did. They got a brilliant sound system, and then it's awesome big wall of light. You know, you can put light on it. It's still in Norwich, but you know, I don't know who you made a contact with Gary's lot to.
Well, it's the promoter, whoever the promoter is of that tour,
Yeah.
or the local promoter who decides the venue, and I guess it's dictated by all sorts of weird details and numbers. But
Indeed.
you never know.
But either way, Dave, we're going to have a few beers.
That'd be nice.
Indeed, it will be, mate. Brilliant. Thanks ever so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And hopefully, maybe we'll do this again one day.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Yeah. All right.
Perfect, mate. Thank you.
Take care.
I'll see you soon.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye then. Bye.
Bye.